Hello everyone, welcome back. You're watching Empyrion Galactic Survival episode 192. I'm Enigmius and today we're continuing with the USS Discovery build. We've been hard at it. We've got the saucer section roughed in, we've got the deflector dish roughed in, and we've been working on the front section of the main hull area. And after the last episode I kind of let it sit for a little while, and then I came back and I looked at it and I realized there's just too many 90-degree things involved in what we had done, which is not necessarily a bad thing when we're roughing something in, to have it, come back later and realize we want to change a variety of different things just to kind of add a little bit more visual interest. In this case, there's a number of things that I wanted to change in the visual interest category, and most of it had to do with just kind of breaking up that 90-degree syndrome. It looked really, really blocky on the front end, the way that we had left it. And also, the way a lot of the transitions were coming together didn't really sit too well with me. I felt like I could do better and have fewer little narrow sort of strips here and weird kind of vertical sections there. So the whole idea here is we're taking what we started with based on what we did in the last episode, and now we're kind of extending certain things in different directions so that we can have that extra bit of visual interest and also have better transitions where things are going in different directions. And you wouldn't know it from looking at it now, but that's basically where we're going. And the whole idea is to try and kind of summarize what I'm doing so that it makes sense. Would be, we're starting, or we're looking at a particular plane, a particular flat section on the ship, and I decided that I wanted to extend that in the direction that it was going and have it intersect whatever it intersects, just basically build it out until we get to a point where it looks like we can start making it transition in another direction that we're going to be happy with. And you can see now, basically, we're taking this section that was on a 22.5-degree angle and a 45-degree compound angle, and we're pulling it forward. And then as we go, we're removing some of the things that we had from the blockier version of this front end, and just kind of seeing where it takes us and where we're going to have the various different transitions come together. Part of it is going to mean that it's not going to be a perfectly seamless is kind of the word that I want to use. It's not entirely accurate. You can see we've got that sort of inner section on the left side of the area where we're working that's sort of sticking out from the front, and it's another 90-degree angle scenario. I'm okay with that as long as everything leading up to it has a more elegant transition to it. And essentially what that means is when you look at it, it's changing direction and it's doing different things and it's bending around corners and all that other stuff, but it's not doing it in a way that draws your attention to it and makes you say, like that looks kind of, chunky or blocky or ugly or whatever word you can come up with to use. If it's used to describe a negative impression that you get when you look at it just because the way that it stands out, then that's the kind of the worst case scenario. That's what we're trying to avoid. And what we're doing here, as opposed to simply leaving what we had in the last episode and moving on, is addressing that kind of feeling that I got when I looked at a variety of different things. Now, there's a lot of jumping around. There's some crossfades and some jump cuts and some other things, because whatever I remove on this side, I have to remove on the other side as well, so that everything goes into place the way that it's supposed to. And for the larger sections where I'm removing over a certain number of blocks in my mind, I just decided to not show you that part, the removal, just saving time. You've seen it once, you don't need to see the whole thing all over again. But hopefully what you can see now is just reinforcing what I was talking about, of having certain things just extend in a certain direction. And come together in a way that has those nice transitions, has that sort of look to it where you look at it and say, yeah, it's not, the same shape. It's not super simple necessarily, but everything comes together in a way that's got a certain feel to it that could easily be a little bit jarring if it were done a little bit more poorly. But if we do it right, then it won't have that jarring effect. And you can see basically all I'm doing is I've got this. This seems to be the thing that we end up with all the time, where we've got all kinds of different things that come together, and then we come to this point where they all intersect, and this is where we have to make all of the decisions about what we're going to do in order to make it all work. So we've got lots of compound angles, lots of things contributing to a more interesting feel than what we originally had. But if we don't manage this particular section right here with the transition and getting everything come together nicely, it's going to set us back. Even if we were to do this all wrong and I were to come back tomorrow and say, you know what, I'm going to change all of that, we still made good progress. We've still, forwarded the design. But I would prefer at this point, given how much more of this ship we have to do, that we not put ourselves in that position too often where we do something and then we come back to fix it, and then we have to come back to fix it a third time, and then maybe a seventh time eventually, and it's not really part of the plan. I'd like to get it to the point where we can move on to something else. And this here, to me, is a much better representation of the way that I would like to see things done, in the sense that I couldn't tell you the functional reason for all of these different angles and transitions and such, the way they came together, except that it's a more visually pleasing thing to me than what we had from the end of the last episode. And we only changed basically the outer edges is what it came down to. We didn't have to do a whole lot in the middle. But one thing that we did have to do, following all of that on the outer edges, was this particular part, the front section, right where it comes up to the deflector dish. Because the way the deflector dish was sticking out, that middle section was sticking out a little bit too far. If you were to go to the side and look across, you could see too much of the deflector dish sticking out. So what we have to do is extend the hull a little bit further out in that particular area so that you can no longer see that exposed deflector dish. But at the same time, once we get that sort of taken care of, now we have to transition that to the rest of the forward area of the hull. And what I came up with was just a very raw 22.5 degree slope running all the way across until it starts intersecting with the hull that we've got. And then we'll just do a very, very simple transition so that it looks like we've got this section that kind of bulges out a little bit in the middle around the deflector dish, and then kind of pushes back in towards the flattened section of that front hull. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to pull it off. It's not a super complicated thing to do, but I was a little bit nervous with the way that it would all come together. But ultimately, I was pretty happy with the way that it worked out. So I'm going to let you watch the rest of that. There's about a minute or so left. You can see that coming together, and then there's a little bit of a teaser, kind of give you literally an idea of the direction that we're going to be headed with the next episode. We're going to start pushing down the sides and probably start doing a little bit of work on the top and the bottom as we go towards getting this main hull section done. We're going to go all the way to the back where we're going to have a little shuttle bay, and then we're going to start working on the supports that are going to hold the nacelles. Or we'll do the nacelles and then do the supports after, once everything is done and in place. One way or the other, but we're making good progress, and I've got plans in my mind for at least some of the things that we'll be doing between now and the point where we start working on the nacelles. So if you want to be notified about the next and future episodes in this and other series, the easiest way to do that is to subscribe to my channel and or follow me on social media. Links for social media are always in the information section below the video. Feel free to leave your comments and feedback. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.